Hey everybody, welcome to Fat Kings Friday for April the 3rd. I am Andrew VSG Spike.
And I am VSG Warrior, and we are two big dudes chewing the fat, trying to get lean. What's on the menu tonight, Andrew?
On the menu is pre-ops. We're starting a new little bit of a series here. We're calling it Props for the Pre-op. Props to the Pre-ops.
Props. Give props to the pre-ops. Yeah,
So-
we've all been there. A lot of us have, and a lot of us haven't. So that's what we're trying to do. Help out the pre-ops.
Yeah, I mean we're still, I'm 6 months post-op, and you're what, like 4 months or so?
4.5, 4 3/4.
Okay. So I mean, we're still early enough compared to a lot of the veterans and a lot of other people that are doing the Google Hangouts and stuff. So we're still kind of the younger ones in the process. So we figured, kind of start a little series every week. We cover a couple of topics that kind of walk you through, each of the stages, and then pre-ops noobs can all chime in and ask questions, and then veterans can join in and offer pointers and their suggestions. And I thought it'd be kind of fun to kind of incorporate this over really however long we decide to run this, because I mean we could go pre-op and then even do like a surgery day, or we could cover surgery day and the couple of days after on a couple of shows, and then go right into the they call the post-op phase.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be interesting. I hope that some people get some value out of it. A lot of it is going to hinge on a lot of different factors. So when we talk tonight about picking a surgeon or picking a surgery, it's really something that you're going to have to do on your own. But we're just going to touch on the topic and maybe just share our story of what was important to us, and maybe that'll help you make your decision. But we're not trying to tell anybody what to do or by any means like that.
No, exactly. I wouldn't want to tell you. I'll tell you why I came to the decision to have the procedure that I did, and there's advantages and disadvantages to all of them, of course. But yeah, I think this is in no way going to be our, do this or you suck. If you don't do it this way, you're wrong. Absolutely not. This is, what we came to, what we've researched, what we found out, what could help, things to look for that could help you make a better decision.
Yep. And also, we're going to be, talking about other topics too. I mean, it's just that we're going to, make them like the main topic, but we'll still, entertain questions or whatever's going on in chat. I see we're kind of light right now, but
yeah, it's pretty quiet right now. Well, at the same time too, this is also, it is right before Easter weekend and spring break. So it is going to be kind of I would imagine it's going to be a quieter day on the chat front. But I think what's nice about it, though, with having it on here through YouTube, is that people are going to be able to hop in here and research it and comment, and we can still respond back after.
Yeah, you know what? I was actually, but Gastric Tiger brought up a point with that Lacey situation when she couldn't get on.
Right.
I wonder if there is an aspect to that because technically I think she was trying to get in on an iPad, right? So maybe
she
that
was actually trying between 3 different devices. So I think she was trying a tablet. She was trying her phone. I think she was trying a computer or laptop or something along those lines.
See, that might be the case. It might have to be like, because of the way we have this with the chat, it might have to be computer only or something.
I don't know. Well,
yeah, I wonder if that's hurting us in a way, because maybe mobile devices, might prefer it the other way, but that's a topic for another show.
Right. I mean, I'll say it could be, but at the same time, when we did the announcement, which we still don't know any news yet about OH, but when we made the announcement about trying to get nominated for OH, I think we just hopped right on like we normally do, and I ran the chat, and that was it. So
who knows? Anomaly.
Yeah, exactly. What's up, Rob? Yeah, I know there's a few of us watching. It'll be a nice tight knit group, but we've got our man Jim Haney. He says everyone else is busy eating the chocolate bunnies.
Yeah. Is that code? So I guess what do you where do you want to start? You want to start with the surgeon first, picking a surgeon,
Sure.
or you want to start with picking a surgery? Maybe we should go that route
Okay, we can go with the
because
surgery.
logically, I guess you want to try to figure out what you want to do first, and then who's going to do it to you.
But at the same time, what I'll say is I was dead set. I was pretty much certain that I was going to have bypass. And
Ah,
then it wasn't until I researched my surgeon and I actually had my first consultation that he explained more about why he said, based on the questionnaire that he gave me, why he recommended VSG versus bypass.
aha, taste the
So,
soup. Aha, taste the soup. No, you're right. You know what? And actually, a surgeon is more important than the type of surgery. I would have to agree because if you got a great surgeon, he could probably do any one of these well.
right.
So
I'm sure
I,
they have specialties, but at the same time, most of them, if they're a bariatric surgeon, they're going to be well versed in these different procedures.
well, so fine. You want to talk a little bit about how you picked your surgeon? Because my story is a little bit longer because I had a different
Oh,
situation.
yes, yeah, you did have a very special, very unique situation. I can tell. I'll definitely give you that because that was a bit of a mess. Um, mine was just general research because I wanted to stick with somebody who was in the area. I knew that given my scenario and the type of insurance coverage and everything that I had, I knew that as long as I qualified, I could have somebody local. I didn't have to go to Mexico. I know a lot of people go to, I think was it Mexicali, weight loss center or something along those lines. It's a well-known center, but that's if you have to really go out of pocket. That's a big one that a lot of people go to. So I was able to be covered under insurance. So I just did a lot of research on who's local, who also specialized. There's a couple of different hospital groups or medical groups in our area in Northern Virginia. There's Centera and Innova are the two, and I wanted somebody who would actually be able to possibly work between the two because um, still wasn't sure which hospital I wanted to have the procedure. So I looked at somebody who was going to be a little bit versatile, but I also wanted somebody who had a bit of history. So thankfully, the surgeon that I ended up going with, which was Dr. Dennis Halmy, at the time it was through his group called Blue Point Surgical Group. They've actually since changed names and a couple of adjustments, but he had been in the area for years. He practiced. He would perform the procedures. Where eventually I had it in Centera Potomac, which was maybe 5 miles from my house. But then he also performed the procedures up in the county north of us, where the same hospital where Ryan actually had Scarlet. So I liked that I had those options really depending on where I wanted to have the procedure done. Um, I met up. He did a free seminar. I think it was maybe once a month. I attended the seminar. Started from there, and then I did a one-on-one consultation, and that's where I really got to know him a bit more, and then talked to him about the different procedures. And he recommended, my surgery. We can go into that later, but after really, having that one-on-one and kind of, in a sense, interviewing him, I was more than confident to go that route with him.
And I think that is probably the most important thing is to actually sit down one-on-one with your surgeon and get a feel for the man or the woman, whoever it is that you need to feel safe and you need to feel secure. And that was my biggest problem is
Sure.
I went to a program and I'm not going to badmouth the hospital. It's a great hospital. It's a big hospital in the city, but it's one of the largest and most it's like a public hospital. So it's like thousands of people. And the wait times were ridiculous. And I just always felt like a number, and I never felt there was no sort of like real one-on-one treatment there, one-on-one satisfaction in any level. So I met with the nutritionist. Well, originally, my friend who's on the channel, Marvin Pachito Bear, he was one of the first to talk to me about surgery in any way. And as my health and everything deteriorated to the point where like I have to get out of this, what am I going to do to get better? That was the option. So I had made that determination, and then he told me, because he was already enrolled in this program at that hospital. So I went there, went to the seminar, very similar to everybody else, got a description of basically the three major ones. They never mentioned DS, probably because they didn't do it. But at the time, so those were the three major ones, and I met with the nutritionist months later, and then from there it was every other month or so. And after about, I think I waited like 3 months to actually see the nutritionist, and then after about 4 months of seeing the nutritionist, or 3 or 4 months, I was like, wait a minute, like, am I ever going to meet this doctor? Am I ever going to meet the surgeon? Like, I got all these questions now. I'm trying to lose the weight. You got me on the, the nutrition plan to every, I'm doing all the research on my own, and I'm not getting any information from them. So I was starting to feel like worried. And if it wasn't for the community and the YouTube videos and the wealth of information that's out there on the web, I would have been clueless. I wasn't getting any kind of handouts. I wasn't getting any handbook. I wasn't getting anything. It was just meet the nutritionist, talk about what happened over the last few weeks, and just keep doing what you're doing, or she would modify my diet, etc., etc. So then my dad passed. And I was doing really well because I was hell-bent and I was determined, and because of the videos and everything, like I said. But I was feeling really neglected and really going to change venue. Like it was a really a big, in my mind, I was like, I don't know if I can go through with this year. So anyway, then my father passes, and I didn't even know what was going to happen. I didn't know if I was going to be able to do the surgery. I didn't know if it was going to be fair to do to my family, who we've just had this major, horrible event happen. And it was one of those situations where we felt incredibly wronged by the doctors. Everybody dropped the ball. So our trust in doctors and medicine at the time was at its lowest. So I knew I had to get the surgery done, and I decided to change venues. And that's when I really started doing way more research into all of the minutia, because I had the information from the web and I had the information from the community. So I was looking at all the complication rates, leak rates, and whatever various complications there could be from the various different hospitals. And eventually I found the surgeon that I found, and he's world renowned. It's a great hospital, and I called them up. And the very first thing I did through their system was meet the surgeon, and it was like a whole different, experience. It was so much more in line with all the other things that I hear from other people. And then I met the surgeon, and he was wonderful, and the entire experience was just way overall better than where it was in the last hospital I went to. So.
Yeah, I know you definitely had a much more positive experience, because I remember as soon as you switched, I remember watching your videos at that time, you couldn't stop but rave about where you had it and your surgeon, because it was like a night and day experience for you. I can tell. That was awesome. Yeah, I mean, and it sounds like a lot of, like Rob mentioned earlier, he said when he researched, his surgeon does all three. But he also explained the pros and cons of each, so, which is something that you hope, and most of them are going to stick to the three. And when we say the three, especially for those going in pre-op and early stages, whenever they watch this, we're talking about gastric bypass, vertical sleeve gastrectomy, and lap band procedure.
Right, and Jim Haney is bringing up probably the most important factors, which I sort of passed over, but they all are. You want to make sure that your surgeon is obviously familiar with the procedure that you want. Now, that was a big issue for me, because at the hospital I went to prior, all of the women in the waiting area, they were all talking about the lap band, the lap band, the lap band. And they also seemed very uneducated to me in the sense of their responsibility to it. They all had this. All they kept doing was saying how good I'm going to look so good in this and this by summertime, and it was like it just seemed like they didn't have their mind in the right place. Now that was a perception and an assumption on my part, but it just felt like, hey, wait a minute, they weren't saying all the things that everybody says it's a tool and you got to and all those types of things. I wasn't hearing any of that from the people next to me in the waiting room. So I was concerned. Now, I will say when I finally did ask them, they did provide me with actual concrete numbers in terms of the amount of procedures. So they have that information. They all do. So you want to ask them for that. And I know I waited until, it wound up working out for me, but I should have asked a lot sooner for concrete, numbers in terms of the complication rates, leak rates, death rates, which Jim Haney is mentioning.
Yep.
And also the amount of surgeries. I mean, they literally showed me we had in the last quarter that we did whatever it was, 300 sleeves and 200 lap bands, and they broke it all down. So I'm sure they have that information at your facility as well, and that made a big difference to me, at least seeing that. I had already made up my mind that I was leaving anyway, but it did change my perception when I saw that actually the sleeve was the major procedure that they were doing in terms of number of procedures. And as Jim Haney said also, he would like, he wanted the surgeon to have 200 or more sleeves under their belts. Yeah, I would think that's an important thing. You want to make sure that they are well versed in the surgery that they're giving you.
Absolutely, and mine was the same. I don't know if mine broke it down quarterly, like you mentioned for you, but yeah, I definitely had. I had information that they provided me that said, within our group we performed X amount of each of these procedures. So yeah, experience is definitely one of those things that I don't want to say it goes without saying, but at the same time, it's something like when you're really researching procedures, it's something that you could very easily pass over without really realizing it. So you definitely want to make sure the person knows exactly what they're doing. So. And as Jim Haney just mentioned, they are also required to provide that kind of information to you, so don't forget to ask. It's definitely important that you ask questions. I don't know about you, but when I did my initial consultation with my surgeon, it was an opportunity for him to ask me a lot of questions so he could get a better idea on what procedure would be best for me. But at the same time, it was a great opportunity for me to do the same. How many procedures have you done? How long have you been doing this? But I didn't even have to ask him, and he basically went over a lot of his qualifications and where he studied and who he studied under and where he's performed and studied and worked all of through his career. So I was able to really get to know that, and that was really, really helpful. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, you want to ask as many questions as you can, and there are other things too. Like for me. I had watched a lot of videos, and like,
sure.
I know this doesn't sound like a major concern, but it's like it could lead to one more complication, which was the catheter. I was like, no entry, no mas, no entry, please.
You were so worried about the catheter, man. I remember too, because you just the whole time you're like, man, I don't want to wake up with a catheter. I don't want to wake up with the catheter.
Because I heard stories of infections and shit, like getting a urinary tract infection and all this other shit. I'm like, I just want one. I got so much to deal with as it is, and then, any other infections or because like my father had just passed, and it was all due to little shitty complications that built up. This little infection led to this, and then that led to this, and then that led to pneumonia, and then they were all going on at the same time. So it was like a big part of my I got enough possibilities over here, just one less bullshit thing to deal with. So
right. No, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely warranted given your situation and what you had to go through, and I certainly don't blame you at all because I would have given you a lot. It gives you a lot of other things to think about and want to cover and make sure that yeah, you're not going to have these types of issues, or hope that you have a lesser risk of these issues, because certain things are, it could just come up, you don't realize it. But if there's things that you can do to help avoid it, then by all means. So, um, Jim mentioned as well, and Rob, my doctor covered most of this info during his seminar. That's why my wife and I felt comfortable going to him. And if you do, that's another big thing too. Is if you have somebody, if you have a spouse, a boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, whoever, if you have somebody in your family that you know is supportive of this and is a big part of your life like that, it is good to have them go with you at some point. Now, my wife didn't go with me to the consultation. She didn't go to the seminar, but she did go to one of the first follow-up appointments that I had with my doctor. So she actually went, I think, 2 times. One early on, because I had to go through a 6-month insurance process, or 6-month, qualification. So she went early on, but then she was there. She made sure she was there for the very last one. So it's definitely something that you want to make sure that you include, those people that, are going to help you and help try and take care of you so that they can be as well informed as well.
I think that's a huge, huge thing to do. I mean, my family was going to, help with the initial, after surgery care, and I was the one. You got to at least make sure you're telling them everything you need to tell them, because they have to know what your limitations are in terms of physical ability. Also, what you can and can't eat and what you're going to need. You're going to need, help and all that. We'll get to that aspect of it later, but I think that's a very important point. If you're going to have a support team, you better include them in on all of what it takes, post-op.
Yeah, because they can only be as helpful as you keep them informed. So,
I just saw Jim's comment.
Jim's comment, yeah. But they seriously, if they don't know what to do or how to help you, how can you expect them to truly help you and give you the kind of care that you need, throughout the whole process? So these are definitely all the things you need to keep in mind, and also, make sure that, you involve in the search. Have them help out with searching. Because, Ryan, she helped me a lot with researching different surgeons and who we felt most comfortable with. So I mean, she wasn't there during the consultation or the seminar, but she she was already there day one working with me when we were at home to research and see who would be the best, who do we feel would be the best surgeon for me in the area. So so I mean, it's a lot of things to consider and keep in mind, and have your questions. Jim mentioned as well. I was going to get to this. Always have your questions written out. Have a pad of paper, or if you've got a smartphone, get a notepad app and jot down these questions. Don't leave anything to just be forgotten. You want to make sure that you've got all your bases covered, and that you feel confident when you walk out of that consultation and that one-on-one with the surgeon. You feel like you want to make sure you felt like you've made the right decision, which makes sense. It's it seems kind of obvious, but a lot of times you've got so many other distractions that you're thinking about in this whole surgery procedure, or process, I should say, that it's very easy to forget something.
Yeah, it's important to write that stuff down, just because the flow of a conversation can always be interrupted. I remember when I just happened to be, I was one question in with my surgeon, and he had to take this emergency phone call. And if I didn't have it written down, I know I would have just got, frazzled by that and just forgotten half of the question. So yeah, I did the same thing, and I think it's important to write them down for sure. And the follow-up care is really, really important as well, because everybody does it differently, and you want to feel like, I know the people who go to Mexico, God bless them, I don't think they have as much, because they're coming home. I'm sure they can call people and stuff, but it's really important to feel like you got these people anytime you need them, that they're going to be there for you.
Hmm.
And I had the similar thing with the other facility originally. I didn't get a warm and fuzzy feeling from the aftercare. I got the sensation that they do thousands of these a month and just get it done, and it's just kind of like a sausage, meat grinder. Just boom, boom, boom,
I was gonna
boom.
say like assembly line almost.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was like
Take a number.
something out of Pink Floyd. Just putting the kids in the meat grinder. I mean, that's how it felt to me. So,
Sure.
I was not getting a nice soap and water feeling from that. So, aftercare is also really important. And again, Jim Haney mentioned it.
Yeah. And, oh, shit, you made me think of something as well. Oh, with the aftercare, after I met with during my initial consultation, I met with the surgeon, and then I met with the surgical coordinator, which was equally as important for me because when I met with the coordinator, I went through a lot of detail with her. She said, "Here's how you're going to meet. Based on your insurance, you have to have a 6 month, pre-op You have to go through a 6 month program for your insurance to accept it. I think some people may have a 3 month, some even shorter, but usually it's like a 3 or 6 month. So they said, here's the 6 month. You're going to meet. These are the times that you can meet. You're going to have your surgery, and then here's where you're going to expect to do during your first year of post-op. We're going to meet with the nutritionist this many times. You're going to meet with the surgeon this many times. You're going to meet with our exercise specialist this many times. So I knew going in, even before I started, pretty much the very beginning, I knew what to expect for basically the next 2 years with this group. So unfortunately, that's changing a little bit for me because of my upcoming move. But still, that's of my choice. But to know that these people put that much effort and that much thought into your full coverage, not just let's get you in, let's get the surgery and get them out. You want that.
Yeah, definitely, totally.
So now with, kind of going, I think we pretty well covered what to look for, things to think about with your surgeon. I know I briefly talked on the 3, but there is technically a 4th. And it was funny is it was mentioned early on in the comments, and before we even started the show, we had to look it up ourselves. A lot of the surgeons do specialize in the 3. The 4th is a duodenal switch. Jim and Rob both mentioned, well, Jim mainly, he said, a lot of the surgeons out there really specialize in those 3, with the exception of the DS, the duodenal switch. There's not a lot of vetted duodenal switch surgeons out there. And, like I said, we had to look up what this was. So, to kind of give a quick synopsis of the DS. Well, actually, you know what? Let's go to that later. Let's go through kind of, the main ones. You want to kick us off? Why? We both had the same procedure. So do you want to cover, VSG?
Yeah, sure. Well, first you got the rusty trombone. Then you got, oh no, never mind. That's a whole nother procedure. So,
Another show.
we obviously know what the DS is. We've heard of it, but we wanted to try to talk a little bit in detail about what it was. And procedurally, neither one of us, ever really researched it, I don't think. I know I didn't. Anyway, so getting to the VSG part of it, it's the procedure where they remove about 80% of your stomach, more or less, give or take. Everybody's different. And what you're left with is basically a sleeve-shaped stomach, and it removes, and that the rest of that part of your stomach is removed. But there is no rerouting of the intestines or anything like that, and a bypass is different in the sleeve. The benefits I found to be, in my idea, were the fact that you get most of the nutrition from what you eat. There's lots of different benefits, but that to me was the most important one. The malabsorption always scared me. with the other surgeries. Now, again, I'm not poo-pooing anybody's surgery. I love them all. God bless you. Whatever you had is fantastic. But just for me and my lifestyle, you know what I'm saying? My crazy, wild, zany lifestyle. I knew that.
You are a wild and
Then
crazy
crazy
guy.
guy. I mean, I just knew that. Like, I think you take a couple more vitamins than we do. I mean, I think the bypass people take just slightly a little bit more vitamins and whatever.
Hmm.
So whatever. If it's two or three less pills a day, I'm all for that. But honestly, the reason why is because I think that, well, anyway, we can go into the dumping and all the other stuff. I mean, sleevers dump as well, but for me, I never really had a problem with sugar per se, or I didn't have a sweet tooth, and it wasn't my major problem. My major problem was carbs and that kind of stuff, and you know, I thought it would be nice to have the option to have the occasional slice of birthday cake if I want to, and I'm sure there's bypass people out there who can. But my perception at the time was that, you know, sugar would be such a big no-no with the gastric bypass. The other thing was, for my weight, for my size, I was 500 pounds. Andrew was a big boy too. You know, that made a difference in this in the length of the procedure in and of itself. So I knew that a lap band would be too uh, seemingly so that it would not allow me to get the weight off that I needed, and the bypass may be too long of a procedure. They made the decision for me, to be honest with you. When I spoke to originally, they told me, you're too heavy to get a bypass. We find that the risks of your surgery would be way too high. We would prefer you to get the sleeve because it is a shorter length of duration for the actual procedure, for the surgery itself. So they more or less told me what I was getting, whether I liked it or not. I did lose a lot of weight, and I'm sure by the time it was showtime, I could have chosen another surgery. But at that point, it was I had felt like that was the best decision for me, and I wanted that from the beginning anyway, so it just worked out. Do you want to talk about the bypass, or you want to talk about?
Sure. Yeah, I'll go into bypass. So, yeah, bypass itself, gastric bypass, R&Y, um, is, I think it's what most people traditionally think of when they think of, you know, weight loss surgery. I had weight loss surgery. I think this is the one that's been around the longest. Whereas with vertical sleeve, VSG, vertical sleeve gastrectomy, where that creates your stomach is about the size, I think I was told, roughly the size of a banana. With gastric bypass, it makes it about, they said, about the size of an egg. Um, what they do then is they cut a small portion of your stomach. The remaining part of your stomach is still, nothing gets removed. Everything that you have, like with VSG, that 80% of your stomach gets taken out, and you no longer have it. But with bypass, it still remains, and then your little, the pouch that a lot of people call it now, your pouch, the egg-sized portion of your stomach, gets rerouted to kind of a midway point, if you will, of your small intestines. Hence why it's a bypass. So it bypasses a good portion of your, you know, of your digestive tract, but the remaining part of your stomach is still there in your stomach to help, you know, create enzymes that help in the digestion. You know, the advantage to that compared with, you know, say vertical sleeve, I was told that bypass has typically, it's becoming less and less of a gap, but I was told that there is a slight, you know, you can typically lose weight slightly faster on bypass versus VSG. But then there are the malabsorption, you know, risks that you had mentioned, where I've only ever had to take B12, a multivitamin, and calcium. I know, and when I was researching this, talking to, you know, my surgical group, you had those same ones, but then I still had iron and, you know, several others. I remember it was like, oh, to me, it was almost, I think, twice the amount of supplements that I would have to take. So there is a lot of malabsorption that you had to worry about. So I mean, there are risks and rewards, and like I said, for a lot of surgeons, that's the tried and true. That's that's been the traditional method. That's what I'm sure a lot of surgeons out there are very well versed in, because VSG is still kind of new. I think um, more insurance. Most insurances are going to be able to cover both, but back in the day when VSG first came out, um, most insurance companies didn't know enough about it to allow it to be covered. So it was really between not sleeve. It was between bypass and the lap band. So a lot of people were typically going with the bypass R&Y. And for me, when I talked with my surgeon, he recommended I had VSG. He recommended VSG for me, not even for what he recommended for you, because he mentioned to you that it was a quicker procedure. He recommended sleeve for me because regardless of my size, the comorbid, I hate the term, but it's the insurance term, comorbid abnormalities is what they called it. Mine were high blood pressure and sleep apnea. He said, I didn't have diabetes. I didn't have, any other major, issues beyond those two. So he said, because of that, he recommended the sleeve for me. He said, as long as you do the work and use the tool properly, you're still going to lose damn near the same, if not more. It really just depends on how well you utilize it.
Yeah, that's another common thing that I mean, in my seminar, they literally I don't have the paper around. They used to have it somewhere, but they had these, the chart of all the three different procedures, and it always said how if you, could lose, I think it was like 60 or 70% of your original weight with bypass, and and only 50 or 60 with sleeve, and then a little less with the lap band. So it was almost like, hey, if you got a lot to lose, the bypass is the way to go. So, I found it odd. So I'm like, okay, well, if I have a lot to lose, then the bypass is the way to go. Then why won't you do it on me?
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah.
Yeah, but apparently, I guess, who knows? They just felt like my size was a risk. But I'm like, I watch all these shows. They're 600 pounds. They get the I guess, but at that point, they're willing to take the risk. So, it does become a matter of, listen, the right procedure for you is the one that you think is right for you. Everybody is different, and I wish I could even talk a little bit more about the lap band. I'm lacking in the actual procedure. I understand that, I get it. It's a band that they place around, and it has a saline injection, right? Something like that, and they.
Well, I can go over it actually because
okay.
Oddly enough, what's funny is I didn't discover this until several months after, but one of my coworkers has the lap band, and she had it done through the same surgical group that I had mine done. So I learned it a little bit through her, but it's a band that it's probably the quickest procedure if I'm not mistaken, because they just go and they don't remove anything or reroute anything, but they put this band around the upper portion of your stomach, and then it has a port that you can receive these, saline injections. That the saline injections, think of it, if you remember the old Reebok pump shoes, you would pump them up and it would make the tongue of the shoe tighter. It would have those air pockets. Think of it as almost the same thing, whereas you inject into the port, as you inject, and they could also remove fluid as well, it would make it tighter or looser. So, you could go and have that done. Obviously, the biggest advantage is it's a quick procedure. There's nothing being, cut, removed, although cut just to put it in, but there's nothing being removed. There's nothing being rerouted. Your guts are still intact. But one of the things that I was never a fan of, especially seeing my coworker going through this, even though she's, I think, 3 years plus out, she still goes in regularly to get it adjusted. And I couldn't see myself continuously going on damn near a monthly basis to get it fixed. And it's not also something that's supposed to last. Like, she's almost to the end of it where it almost seems like they don't expect her to be able to use it much longer. And I don't see the point in that. Now, I could be wrong. I know some people, I'm sure, have other experiences with it. But from what I gathered from her, it wasn't necessarily something that was going to be as effective down the road. And I want something that's going to be effective for me, for as long as I plan to be here, if not longer. So.
Yeah, and I think it's difficult because I know a lot of people are going to watch this. Well, hopefully, people with different ideas of different procedures in their head. And the last thing I want to do is, like, I keep saying it, but I don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable with any surgery. We are both sleevers, so it's obviously the decision that we made. So we're going to be biased in favor of that because
Of course.
that's the decision we came to. So, but you have to come to whatever decision is right for you. But I think you should really base it on, again, what is going to work for you long term. What is going to be most comfortable for you to adjust to post-op. What the lifestyle and the way that you eat and the things that you eat and what you're willing to deal with. Because for me, when I heard all of that, just like you said, you get to constantly go back and get this thing updated and get the saline correct, and you got to go like on a monthly basis. I was like, oh, there's no freaking way I'm gonna want to do that, And
I think it's still one of the least. At this point, I think it's one of the fewest performed procedures. I think most people, it's going to be between like VSG, So I think it's also there's certain scenarios or certain I guess requirements, if you will, that would lead somebody towards the ban versus others.
But having said what I just said, I feel that I would be remiss if I did not say the reason why. Now, everyone in my family kept saying, well, get the lap band, get the lap band, get the lap band, get the lap band, because it seems to be, on paper, less intrusive, less radical than all this cutting and rerouting and all this stuff. And I must admit, I bought into that for quite a while. Now, I'm not going to poo-poo the surgery. I can only tell you what I experienced, what I saw, and what I have heard from actual first-hand information, not just my friend who was enrolled in these programs and got to meet and interact with a few women who had the lap band, and they had these unfortunately negative experiences. And I have seen online on YouTube, and I could name some, but there were several revisions from lap band to sleeve. So that did affect me in the sense that what seems to be on paper the least intrusive turns out to be not so much, because there are a lot of rejections from the foreign object. There are infections, and the experiences with these women that they had this it slips, it comes out of place, and there were some complications due to that. So obviously there are complications to every surgery, and I also believe that there are no limits. I said this in my update. I don't believe there's any limits to what you can accomplish pretty much with any one of them. Like, if they tell you you can only lose whatever 40% of your weight with the lap band, I bet you that they're just covering their ass to just have to say that. If you're committed to it 100% and you give it your all, I bet you can lose as much as you need to lose or what you want to lose.
Yeah.
Granted, I mean within reason. Obviously, if you're way super morbidly obese, and lap band may not actually get you where you need to go, but in theory, I think that if you're within, if you only have 100 pounds or more to lose, I think any one of the procedures is going to help you get there pretty much without any problems.
No, I agree, and I think that was my coworker's scenario, where I don't think she had necessarily as much to lose as like I did, or you had. But yeah, I mean, it is what I have been told and what I've researched is that it's going to sound negative, but I don't mean it to be negative. But it is what's generally considered the least effective method compared to the others. Now on the flip side, yeah, Jim mentioned slips, erosions, port flip, leaks, infections, yeah.
Sounds delightful.
But at the same time, there is also less complication. There is less risk of death, I believe, compared to when you're under for as long as you could be with, vertical sleeve or gastric bypass. So I mean,
Yeah, I
there's
mean,
there's
they all have risks. This is the truth of the matter is they all have risks, and it's got to be, to me, if I just felt like the risk has to be worth the reward. Like we have to, and it has to be right for me. So whatever you decide, again, you're going to do fine with. But really research everything. Really take your time, and the information is out there. You really got to, all that stuff about, we're telling people to ask them for, I just thought of this before, we're telling them to ask for the numbers and stuff, but you got to try to get an idea of what those numbers should fall in line with. And I remember looking, I don't remember the site now, but I did find a place where they gave you sort of like the national average for the percentages of leaks or what the death rate should be, like it should fall into certain percentages. So just keep looking for all that stuff. It's out there.
No, agreed. Now the last one, I'll just touch on it real quick because it is at the same time as probably the one you hear about the least. Is the DS, the duodenal switch. Like I said, we even had to research what it was, and then kind of going back, Jim had mentioned was, when we were talking about VSG, he mentioned VSG is new as a standalone surgery, but it has been done effectively. It has been done pretty much since, I believe he was thinking the 70s, because it's stage 1 of the duodenal switch. So
did he mean DP?
Oh, maybe.
Listen, I have to throw in a dirty joke. All right,
We got to. I know. Yeah. Well, he was asking you about the catheter. Did you put like a no entry sign before you went under, saying please don't put anything down there, no catheters, please?
Yeah. He asked if I tattooed no entry on the tip of my penis, and I said yes, and on my butt as well, no entry. So
right.
You might want to do that. Just make sure you do that. But
please, no catheters.
But I didn't know. I mean, I'm blissfully unaware that the DS has been around since the 70s and the VSG as well.
Well, I think VSG was. I think it's basically what's become. VSG has become what it is. It makes sense if it came from off of what duodenal switch does, because now we just did some quick, and I mean quick research. We were within like 5 minutes before the show aired, so. I looked it up, and it cuts your stomach down into a sleeve, similar. It is almost exactly like VSG, but the remaining portion of your stomach doesn't get removed, but it then gets an additional. I don't know if it's a portion of your small intestine or whatnot, but it similar to what happens with the bypass. The remaining part of your stomach gets routed at a point where your stomach meets your small intestine. So it doesn't leave as small of a pouch, but I think there's also probably at the same time less of a malabsorption risk. So, I mean, that was really the quick and dirty of it, with what we were able to research. It's not one that's typically done as often, but yeah.
Yeah, Jim is just letting me know that DP has been around since cavemen have been tag teaming. Very good, Jim. Yeah, no.
Real quick, welcome Kim and Jennifer. Late to the show, but they're here. I was wondering. I mean, Jennifer, I'm like. I was getting a little worried. We're getting close to 9 o'clock, and she didn't show up. I was thinking we pissed her off or something.
I hope you both have late passes, young ladies. But thank you for coming because we appreciate it. You got us up to double digits, and for that, it's like we're grateful. But yeah, no, and you missed a really informative show because how are you two going to ever figure out what surgery to get? But
I know
I
it's gonna
get,
be tough for them.
but with the DS though, the so they, I guess, yeah, you say they don't remove the action, they don't take it, they don't remove that the part of your stomach. I don't know, because my program, I mentioned this many times, and I think that's one of the most important part of the hospital that I went to. The remainder of your stomach that's removed, they have a program where they use it to give Brazilian butt lifts to needy strippers, and I think everybody should enroll in that program.
I mean, anything to help, anything to help.
Yeah, I'm
I
all
mean,
about helping.
but I still haven't seen the fruits of that program yet because I thought I was supposed to get a picture of the butt. You know, as long as I donated $2 a month, you know, I get a
Yeah,
letter from them saying, you know, what it's been going towards.
yeah, I forget the name of the stripper. I think it was Champagne or something like that. I forget her
So
name.
mine was Zinfandel.
Zinfandel. Yeah, it might have been. Yeah, but she sent me a letter and she loves it. She loves her new Brazilian butt. It's fantastic. She's very happy.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. But yes, I mean, those are the different procedures. So I mean, it really, you know, eh, researching the different procedures. That's almost one of the easiest because you can find out so much. You can find out so much just doing, doing some Google searches. But the best, I mean, for me, what really helped me was the community. By that time, I had really started getting into the community a little bit, talking to people, watching the YouTube videos, because I really got a sense of, the ins and outs, from seeing people's real experiences and saying, well, I don't know if I necessarily want to go through that. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be as effective for me, or this looks great. Like I said, I was dead set on having Roux-en-Y bypass, up until I had my consultation with my surgeon, but then he explained it a little bit more and said, because of, certain factors in my own, personal, life, that he felt like, VSG was the way to go.
No, Jim Haney just said he's looking into male female gender reassignment, and I think Jim
Well,
this.
see, he's going for the he's going for the true post-op. Like you mentioned it before, when you're asleep, when you're a WLSer, when somebody says post-op, you don't think of what most people think of.
Right.
He's
Well,
going for the true post-op.
he wants to be a true post-op. I want to have my own vagina to play with anytime I want on my terms. That is Jim Haney speaking, not me, guys. And I agree. I think that's a great. And what we should do is, if Jim and I actually both become women who like women, then we could finally get together, me and Jim.
Oh, there you go. It's all good.
Right. So Jim, we'll talk after the show. Private message me. Oh, and we also have a newcomer, Angie in Indiana. Angie.
So you had Rolling Stone stuck in your head earlier.
I had to get it out. Where will it lead us from here? Thank you for watching, Angie. It's good of you to come. Thank you so much. And, of course, we got VSG Billy.
What's
my
up,
man,
Billy?
VSG Billy he just warms my heart. When I saw him, he posted on Facebook. He's working hard. He's going for my record. He's going for the gold. He's trying to beat the 112-pound pre-op, and I'm all for that, Billy. I hope you crush it, brother.
Dude, go for it. That is a very high bar, dude. But go for it, man.
That's intense. Right? I think he hit 100 already. I think that's what the post was. Yeah, he's
how much
crushing
longer,
it.
Billy, how much longer until your procedure?
He's crushing it.
He really is. Rob H is here. I know we mentioned him a few times, so Rob's watching. So, and of course that weirdo Jim Haney. We've already mentioned him enough. I think if I say his name too many more times, he's going to show up like Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice. So also while we got a sec, wanted to talk a little bit about what I was hoping to do in San Diego. I have a buddy of mine who was supposed to lend me his GoPro so that I can we can film out there, and I was hoping to get the girls, and I mentioned it last week, and it looks like that might happen. So next week we will be from sunny San Diego and the beautiful
forgetting about that.
Yeah. What is it? The Grand Hyatt Marriott Hotel in San Diego, ladies and gentlemen. So it should be a lot of fun. So look forward to that. Tell your friends. It should be kind of a special thing. With a bunch of drunken maniac sleevers and WLS is running around. It should be fun.
Yeah, that should be interesting. And I think we'll postpone. I don't think we're going to do the nice, we're not going to do props to the pre-ops program next week. I think next week, if we're able to coordinate it, you'll be out there early enough, so we'll definitely be able to do Fat Kings. But I think what we're going to try, you were hoping for, if people were there early enough to have them basically join you. So it was going to be me here in the palace and you there with just a whole bunch of maniacs.
Yeah, and Jennifer's saying right now, Lacey and I are on board. They already have their outfits picked out. I am just, I'm getting goosebumps.
You get
But yeah,
goosebumps. I'm just gonna be here getting jealous, sitting here like, great, yeah. Oh, looks like you guys are having fun.
yeah, it should be fun. So yeah, most of the people get in on Thursday, so we should have quite a few people. I mean, just Jen and Lacey's good enough, but who knows how
Right.
many?
You
Who
mean
knows
Lacey's
how
finally
many?
going to be on the show? I mean,
She's
she's actually
finally
going to
going
make
to
it
be.
work, unless she carries the curse and you can't get on the show because she's in the room.
Yeah, so that's going to be an interesting show for you. It's going to be talking to yourself.
Right, exactly. So make sure you're somewhere with a good internet connection, because sometimes the hotel internet can be shit.
Yeah, that's true. We gotta look into that.
Well, if you're going to stay at your buddy's place, so you might as well just invite everybody over. Just tell them that, hey, you know what? We're going to invite all these hot chicks over. Just hang out. Just relax. It's all good. So.
Oh, actually, Jennifer, while you're here, what is are you bringing any kind of electronic laptops accoutrement? Because I don't know actually if my friend's laptop is going to be worthy of that. I hope Jennifer's bringing something like that. That's a
Well,
good question.
I was waiting for you. Almost slipped up, and I thought you were going to say some electronic devices, and I was about to say we're not going to go there.
I didn't say battery operated devices, electronic.
Let's
I'm
see. Actually, they're on board as if I could the program. Oh yeah, so he's. I did the program. I'm still waiting on approval in 3-week liquid diet. When he doesn't even have the date, and if he hasn't had the date, he still has to get the approval. And he's already over 100. He's gonna blow that shit out of the water.
Oh.
Your 112's going down. If he still has,
yeah, that's good.
if
That's
he
what I
still has
wanted.
a 3-week, if he has a 3-week liquid diet still to go, sink that battleship. Jennifer, we could just do it in the hotel room. I'm sure that's what Walter's like. Okay.
Wait a minute, I'm not that kind of girl.
Well, especially because you're withholding, so you're gonna be the, you're gonna have all these lushes around. That's gonna be the fun part.
Yeah.
It will be very interesting just kind of sitting here quiet in the Pink Palace while I just see chaos on the other side of the screen.
Well, that's why I have Scott as my wingman, but I have a feeling Scott pretends to be this grounded, but I have a feeling he's gonna get like crazy on me. I'm like, I picked you as my wingman and you're crazy, and he's wild and zany. I'm just. But yeah, I'm gonna need Scott to steer me, to keep me honest here.
Right.
Because
So let's see. So kind of give you guys an update. I've been looking at the calendar. So next week is going to be, the WLSFA show with you and everybody, whoever's going to join. Week after that, I think we'll probably pick back up. That's also the week after. That's going to be the final broadcast from the Pink Palace.
Oh, that's right.
So basically, kind of give you guys an update here for what's going on. So, like I said, next week is the shenanigans from San Diego. I think that's what I'm going to call the show. The weekend after that is going to be the final show on the Pink Palace. But I think we can do another, props to the pre-ops that night. But that'll be the final Pink Palace. And then I don't know if you've talked to him any further, but I think on the 23rd, the night of the 23rd, that's when I won't be able to be on the show, and I think that's where it's going to be you and Jim Haney. So you guys can just gush over each other for the hour plus.
Gush.
If that goes into a 2.5-hour just love fest. So.
And if we both become females, we could really gush.
I really had to use
Uh,
that choice of words too, didn't I? But then the last of the month on April 30th, I will be back, and at that time I will be back coming to you live from my new throne in Wild and Wonderful West Virginia. So it'll be a fun month coming up.
yeah, man, good times. Yeah, I'm excited for you too, and the move and everything. That's gonna be great.
It is. I didn't do an update last week, just because I have had a lot going on. I'm going to try and put together a quick update, some point this weekend. But just so you know, I mean, a lot of my appearances may just be while I'm here on Fat Kings. My updates are going to be maybe a little sporadic these next couple of weeks, just because I'm focusing on the move and getting everything ready, and trying to get stuff boxed up and packed as much as I can during any free time. So, Jennifer, I don't think that's going to be the case. Whatever happens at WLSFA is going to stay on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube.
Ah, yeah, I'm going to behave myself. I'm not
You're
gonna
going to
drink.
behave yourself, or you're going to be the sober one. I expect some pictures, damn it.
It's, yeah, Jim was just saying the same thing. I need to film the drunken debauchery. It's my duty.
That's right. It is your duty. The GoPro, that's a little tiny little thing. You can get that thing just about anywhere.
Yeah. Okay. I'll try to behave, but yeah, I could see where that could be an interesting film there.
Kim's calling it now. I don't know, Jennifer. I have a feeling leaks. Oh, I certainly hope so, because I'm gonna be packing up and getting shit ready to move, and I want to see some fun shenanigans from San Diego.
Yeah, it should be a good time. I unfortunately, if you saw my update, which was an intense one this week, I kind of left it all out there. But one of the things I mentioned was that my brother-in-law's mother is actually gravely ill, and unfortunately today she passed away. So it's going to be a somber weekend for me, and I'm going to hang in there. The only reason why I mentioned it is because Jennifer is planning a fun, exciting show this weekend. So Naked Truth, there may be some special guests, so don't forget to watch Sunday on Naked Truth. There may be a little
Oh,
WLSFA preview going on. I think
oh
she
no
already,
shit.
I think she announced it on Facebook, but didn't say who, what, where, when. But she did say it could be interesting.
I thought that Jennifer, Rob H, he can see nipples every week on the Naked Truth. I thought it was more than nipples. It was all spicy breasts.
Oh my!
So yeah, I'll have to check for that, because I did watch a little bit of it last week, and then I caught a little bit of 50 Shades last night. And before I forget, shout out, good on you, TJ. He 50 shaded, Fat Kings on April Fools. So well played, very nice. I need to find a way to get the login info for the YouTube, for the Facebook account that I kicked them out to. I'd love to fuck with them here every once in a while, maybe. So
Yeah, I thought that was well done.
I thought it was
Good.
nice.
Yeah.
Kudos to him for sure. So
Oh, I thought it was hilarious. No, it was good. Good times, bro. Good times. Um, so yeah, I mean, yeah, thank you, Jennifer. Jennifer's giving me condolences. I appreciate that. So it kind of sucks because the wake is on, and it's like I feel torn about the whole thing. But I will definitely be there, and I will try to be in good.
good feeling by the time, especially once people start showing up on Thursday. I think that you'll have a good time. You get to finally, you get to meet Jennifer, you get to meet Lacey, and you get to meet a lot of these folks. And now that you at least got broken in a little bit, meeting myself, and everybody else. But it was really just to hang out with me. But
Yeah, really, that
um,
was it. Thanks, guys. A lot of condolences. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm looking for. There's so many people that have supported me from day one. I mean, people like Lynette. I mean, there's just the list goes on. I mean,
mm,
Christine, teeny tiny. Yeah, lots and lots of different people are going to be there, and I look forward to all the people that I don't know, all the people that don't make videos. So that's going to be really interesting for me, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm a little down about it, and it's
well, sure, it's
but
understandable.
But I know it's going to be fun when I get there, so I'm looking forward to it, guys.
Excellent. All right. Well, I think that's about it for the night. I think we'll call it here. Had fun. I'm looking forward to kind of touching on this and starting up again. Hopefully, once everyone's back from spring breaks and Easter weekends and whatnot, we can kind of discuss this in a couple of weeks. Go over the next couple of topics. So keep an eye out for that, and we will definitely catch you here. It should be fun next week watching you. Have some fun in San Diego, man.
Yeah, it should be a ball. Should be a blast. Looking forward to it.
All right, you want to take us out, dude?
Hail to the kings, baby. All right, guys, thanks.
Take it easy.